Welcome, everybody. I'm Diane Alps with the Cabrillo Marine Aquarium and with the Cabrillo Whale Watch program. And I welcome you all to Deeper Dive, our monthly webinar series that was started, like a lot of these webinars, it was started deep in the middle of the pandemic when our Cabrillo Whale Watch Naturalist Training Program wasn't able to meet in person, and ACSLA wasn't able to have their monthly in-person meetings. And we just really wanted to continue bringing science out there and taking that deep dive, looking at the lives of whales and other marine mammals. So thanks to the Cabrillo Marine Aquarium for hosting and providing their webinar services, and thanks to the teamwork between the Cabrillo Aquarium and the ACSLA, we have continued. And right now we're just launching the series where we will be listening to and honoring and acknowledging a lot of the researchers that ACSLA has supported with the research grants. So I'll let Louisa tell you a little bit more about that research grant program, but Fernanda is the first in our series of speakers with our research grant awardees. So, for those of you that aren't familiar with the Cabrillo Whale Watch Naturalist Program, this program has been a longtime partnership between the Cabrillo Marine Aquarium and the Los Angeles chapter of the American Cetacean Society, starting in 1970, 71 or so, over 50 years ago. The organizations partnered up to train naturalists to get out on boats, to do the nature interpretation, talk about whales, go into classrooms and give presentations. And it continues today. And as we continue to teach, train dozens and dozens of volunteers, many of whom are with us tonight and have been in the program for a very, very long time. And we are still going strong. We're really excited to be over 50 years of training volunteers and getting out on the water. As I mentioned, we meet monthly and we meet weekly during the peak of the gray whale migration, and then we continue monthly now with our deeper dive webinar series. So the Cabrillo Marine Aquarium and the American Cetacean Society Los Angeles chapter are, as I mentioned, the parent organizations of the Cabrillo Whale Watch program. So on behalf of the Cabrillo Marine Aquarium, I wanted to give you a couple of updates. We're right in the middle of the grunion season, and for those of you, I know, wait, it's not whales. I know, I have a hard time too, but grunion are pretty incredible. For those of you that haven't ever been to a grunion run, if there's one in your neighborhood, in your range, wherever you happen to be, I hope you can get out on the beach late at night. It's just a great excuse to get on the beach late at night. But if you're anywhere near Cabrillo Marine Aquarium, I hope you'll join us. We have had just incredibly, beautiful and amazing grunion runs with, so they're small fish that come on the beach to lay their eggs. They bury their tail in the sand, lay their eggs in the sand, and then they, those eggs will incubate there for 10 to 14 days before they wash out fully developed. So you'll learn the whole life cycle, get to even hatch grunion if you come down to our program. So we hope you'll join us at a grunion run. Other than that, we're just rich in the middle of a lot of school tours. So I think I'm going to now turn it over to Louisa Beck, our Los Angeles chapter president with the American Cetacean Society.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight on our first research series. Fernanda was our first recipient for a memorial grant that we just gave out this year for the first time, or last year, I'm sorry. It was the Corinne Sutherland Memorial Research Grant for studying gray whales. And it was created by some donors of family members of Corinne in her memory, and we decided to turn it into a research grant. She was one of our census volunteers for many, many years, and thought this was a great way to honor our friend. So Fernanda, thank you and welcome. And, thank you for being our first awardee and the first person to do the series with us. So we look forward to your talk. And if anyone wants any more information on our grants, that's what we do when we raise money. We give out research grants and we give out travel grants to students to meet researchers like Fernanda. And it's one of my favorite things to do as president of ACSLA is to support students, and support researchers, because both of them are our future and our tomorrow. So anyway, that's all I've got for now. So I'll just turn it back over to Diane. And and our website, ACSLA or ACS-LA, acs-la.org is our website. I'm sorry. If you want to read more about Fernanda's work and all of the other research grant awardees that will be speaking throughout the year, are available there. Thanks, Diane.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Louisa. Excellent. And yes, and a huge congratulations to you, Fernanda, for winning that award. And I believe much of your research, well deserved, has actually been awarded other grants from both ACS and ACSLA. So congratulations on all the work that you've been doing for those efforts. And yes, and a huge thank you and congratulations to ACSLA for continuing that and for continuing to sponsor and support research and students in their travel grants. It does make a huge difference. And I've heard many times, even from longtime senior scientists in the field, who have said that some of the first monies came from donations from you. So congratulations and thank you. And so with that, I am really excited to welcome Fernanda, not only for being an awesome research grant awardee, but also because I'm really excited to hear her talk tonight. If you had a chance to read the brief introduction that we included in the email and online about Fernanda, you see that she's done a lot of amazing work, with her master's work, diving deep into research on the vaquita and now looking at gray whales. And she's also working on fin whale genetics here in the North Pacific. So all very stuff very near and dear to all of our hearts here in the LA and working with all these different animals here in Southern California. We're really appreciative for everything that you're doing. And I think if you'll just take a moment, if you'd like to share, tell me one thing, Fernanda, that I don't know, struck you most about your work with the vaquita and when you were doing your master's, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. But I'm really curious about the work that you did, and was there something that you came away with that maybe was the most near and dear to you?
Yeah, so when I did that, it was 2013. So things were not that heated up. Like, I actually lived there for 3 months and things were calm, okay. I was able to do my work. What is, and I also focused more, I guess, in the fishing aspect of it, not very into the biology or the ecology of the vaquita per se. But what I found amazing is the amount of people that I ran into that said that it was that the vaquita didn't exist. So when I got into, like, first started with the vaquita, like, well, I couldn't understand why would they say that. And at the end, I just kind of like got why they did that. But it was one of the shocks that I got when I started working there. And well, now I wouldn't think of coming back there to work there because I would say it's real dangerous, but I was glad that when I went there, it was still a good time to go and do some research there. Yeah.
And I'm sure interacting with the fishing community must have been really interesting, just talking with them and just the idea that they really didn't believe that they existed, or, just one off, every now and then they only saw a couple. So it must have been hard for them to connect and understand that it was a problem. So it must have been a really interesting experience to have an interesting time. Did you see a vaquita while you were there? Did you get to? No. Oh, wrong timing, wrong.
It was, I wasn't sure all the time, but yeah.
Well, we could hope, but well, I'm very much looking forward to your talk. The Cabrillo Marine Aquarium does an annual trip down to San Ignacio, so a nearby lagoon to the one that you spent your research time in. But we're really looking forward to hearing a lot more about the mother-calf interactions and about the work that you've done and found. So I'm looking forward to turning it over to you now.
Good. Can you hear me there?
Can hear you very well. And actually, before you start, let me remind all of our guests tonight that we will be taking kind of breaks every now and then in between and having some conversations with Fernanda about, about what she has covered. So be sure to include any questions that you have for her in the Q&A, and we'll make sure she has a chance to answer your questions. All right, so questions in the Q&A, not in the chat, and we'll be back, Fernanda, when you have a chance, when you're ready for a little break.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys can interrupt me anytime, and yeah. So let me just share my screen, and I will. All right. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. So you're seeing my presentation, not presenter mode.
Yes, very well.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Okay. Oh no, I didn't want to do that. All right, everyone. Welcome and welcome, Diane, for the introduction. And I am very happy to be here and share my this pilot study that we started pretty much this year. And so I am officially a genetics person now, because I am doing research on fin whales from the North Pacific at Scripps with my awesome advisor, Eric Archer. But when I am not doing my PhD, I am applying for grants, and I am running my research program called Procetus that started as a cetacean research effort in Bahia de Los Angeles, where I became in love with fin whales. And I wanted to expand that, and I wanted to also focus on gray whales from the lagoons, because I also started taking students from UCSD, like undergrads and master students, to actually just see the whales at especially at Ojo de Liebre at Scammons Lagoon. And so I did that like 3 years of just like expeditions with the students. And I was like, well, now that I'm coming here every year, I should do something about here, like in terms of research and trying to get more conservation action there. So that's how I started looking at things that I could do. And one of the things that I started reading in the literature was drone use and how it was being applied in marine mammals. And for example, I wanted to do something that wasn't being done, especially in the lagoons. And a thing that has been done there is looking at morphometrics, like body condition of gray whales using drones. And I was like, okay, I don't want to do that. Somebody else is doing that. So I thought about doing some behavior, because as we all know, and we will talk about that a lot in the talk, is how is it possible that gray whales only here display this friendly behaviors, right? So to make the story short, I read this paper about studying behavior of whales using drones by Lee Torres at Oregon State. And I contacted her, we talked about it, and we put together a project, and I started applying for grants, and fortunately I got some seed money to do this, and I am here to talk about the project with you, and how especially now I think American Cetacean Society, ALEC chapter, and American Cetacean Society as a whole were the first ones who gave me a grant. So I just kind of like got excited and applied for more. And anyway, so I am here to talk to you about this gray whale behavior project using drones that we conducted in the Scammons Lagoon in March. So as you probably all know, about the gray whale migration. So they come to the Baja lagoons during the winter months, And here, let me just quickly do pointer options, laser. So this image here, it shows you the four areas in Baja where you can see the gray whales and when they're breeding and nursing grounds. So it's Guerrero Negro, Laguna Ojo de Liebre, which is Cannons Lagoon, then Laguna San Ignacio, and then up south, it's down south, Magdalena Bay. And the reason why I chose Ojo de Liebre, it started just like because it was good for logistics. I live in Ensenada and San Diego. I usually take students from UCSD, so it was just a shorter drive, even though it's very long. And then I started coming here and I realized that it was an area where most of the researchers from Baja Sur were not coming here. So I thought it was just like an opportunity area for me to just come here and study. And also because it is the largest of the lagoons. So it is the one that gets the most, like more whales. So that helped too. And I just became fascinated with the area. And I want to show you this photo of the lagoons. This one here up north is Guerrero Negro Lagoon. This is the town Guerrero Negro. This is the lagoon where you don't really see whales here. And it's also closed for tourism. So this is the Cannons Lagoon, Ojo de Liebre, and a very interesting thing that we actually observe also in the field is how tides and the depth of the lagoon can get, and how that and the consequences, not the consequences, and the reasons why that affects where the whales are. So if you go to Guerrero Negro and you go to the Cannons Lagoon, you can, this area here, where I am pointing the laser, it's kind of the opening from the Pacific to the lagoons. And this area here is where most of the whales are, because it's the one that has more depth, because it can get really shallow here in these areas. And this is another area where I have never been before. And this is the first year where I actually hire one of the tourism whale watching boats here. And it is kind of a nucleus area right here of the whole lagoon. And this is where probably you can see most whales. So this is just interesting, and from like just the physical aspect, aspect of the lagoon. Okay, so the project was called Application of Drones to Document the Impact of Whale Watching Boats on the Behavior of Gray Whales in a Northern Lagoon of Baja California, that is Ojo de Liebre. So you all know that the Baja Lagoons are probably the only place in the world where gray whales are friendly. So I hope that most of you, or at least a few of you, have experienced this, where they just come to you so close that you're able to touch them, pet them, hug them, and it is really, really a very, very life-changing adventure. However, those that go probably, oh yeah, the Baja whales and all that, but we really don't know about these behaviors. They have not been qualified. There hasn't been a study per se just talking about why are they that way, or are they the same when there are boats around? Is it the people that they are attracted to? Is it the boat per se, like the physical boat that they are attracted to? Why are they like this? So the objective of this study, and I would like to just highlight that this is a pilot study. we went there without knowing what we would expect. And so the objective in paper of the project was to provide the first characterization of these gray whale behaviors using drones with the presence of boats, and then what do they do without them. So this is just a little big picture of what we did. We were there for a week pretty much, but we were only able to do 4 days of surveys because of bad weather. And this is something that it's really important for those doing research in the lagoons, especially in the Guerrero Negro area. It can really get really windy. So you have to be very lucky to get like perfect days. But we were able to do 4 days, and in those 4 days, we were able to fly the drone all those 4 days. So we spent 4 days here at the opening of the lagoon, and then 2 days here at the other site called Mariscal, Punta Mariscal. And this is just, I wanted to show you what our day would look like. So this is, oh, and I forgot, this, other than our funding support, this job could not have been possible without the help of the GEM lab at Oregon State University with Lee Torres and her PhD student, Clara Bird. They are the experts of drones with gray whales, so they were able to come down with us. We had like a big road trip and all that, and we learned from them all of the methodology about like using drones with gray whales. So this is Clara just doing the photo ID. This is my cousin Pablo, who is my drone pilot, just learning from Clara. This is Lee with her notebook, and I have to say, Lee is the most awesome note taker I have ever seen. So she would take notes and really observe everything and documented it, and that's something that I really learned from her, and that I appreciated, like her focus on just like, yeah, we were there to observe what they were doing, so she would write down everything. This image here is just us hanging out on the boat, like doing work, and why not, and just like looking for whales. And I would be lying if I say that we didn't get like have fun there. We had a lot of fun, and we took, if we could, we would pet them if they were right there, and we would just like, for example, if we were having a little bit of a free time. And so this is first, this is a quick video, and I apologize for being it vertical. I wanted to show this on the Procetus Instagram page, which I never did. And also there's a lot of wind, so it might get a little hard on the ears at some point, so I apologize, but it's only for a few seconds. So this is what our normal day will look like. And one thing that I have never experienced before, even though I've been doing research in Baja for years, the tide was so low, so we would have to get in the pickup, drive to the boat, and then jump from the pickup to the boat. So that was fun. First time I did that. And then, yeah, we can just wait and see what our day would look like. Here we go.
Buenos días.
Buenos días.
That's the column. There's something. This I have like just
Okay.
Funcional, ahorita en lugar de ser bonito, que sea funcional.
Pues sí.
All right, I'm just gonna go quickly to one more slide and we can just talk if you had any questions. So we pretty much the data that we collected in the trip, in the field trips were time of sightings, the group size, the behavior, exactly the GPS location of each sighting, their distance with whale watching boats. Clara took a lot of photo ID images to then compare them to, well, we actually want to start a catalog at Ojo de Liebre and just look for sightings from Oregon or other Eastern population there, and a lot of drone videos, which was our main focus. So do you guys have any questions about it up until now? So we can discuss that and I can later move on to what we actually saw.
Hi, I certainly do. I'm already excited. Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm interested as well. You talked about the two different locations in Ojo de Liebre, and it's interesting. So they go up that channel, it looks like, into a deeper area, but you can't get to that area from the town. Is that right? You have to go to, is that where you have to do more like one of the camps and stay for a longer time?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You have to go through like a dirt road for a while and get
Okay.
there. Yeah.
All right, that's interesting. All right, so you said Lee takes excellent notes and you learned from her. So any tips? Because I just am not very good at taking notes. So
you know
what did you learn from her?
I get seasick. So first thing is get a person who doesn't get seasick. And then just, yeah, write everything down.
Everything.
Yeah.
It's just so hard to go back then. And, you know, how do you actually get anything out of it?
You know what? I also learned this from Lee, and she would go back every day. And instead of like, just, oh, okay, let's go eat and just like relax from the like 6 hours of whale watching, and she would transcribe everything to her computer. So that was amazing.
I think that's a big part of it, right? I think
Yeah.
you really have to do that to be able to make taking notes worthwhile.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. We don't have Q&A in the Q&A box, but I see Varenka here is asking, were you looking at the interaction with your boat or only with the other tourists while watching boats? Which is a good question. Yeah.
Both. So we flew the drones up without where we were, and then we also flew the drone with other pandas around. So
okay.
we had videos of both.
At one point here, when you were in your video, it looked like you had a whale coming up, but weren't interacting. Were you trying not to interact and just have boat for maybe a comparison of an interacting boat and a non-interacting boat, and then maybe no boats around type of comparison?
Oh, no,
that
was just me trying to get a nice video, but we did an experiment, and I will show you later, of let me, yeah.
Good. All right, we're jumping ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I get it. Well, I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to this. I think any other questions now is let's see. Oh yeah, Kathy's just reminding everyone to post in the Q&A. It just makes it a little easier for us to track your questions
Okay.
as compared to in the chat, everybody. So please do post questions in the Q&A. Era Horton is asking, having talked to Dr. Torres recently, she said she was able to ID one of the Central Oregon Coast regulars. It looks like it's got a Cascadia number, CRC 1753. Pac-Man was down there apparently.
Yeah, so I'll get it today. It was,
okay.
Yeah, it's a bit of a story.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'll get to it. Yeah.
Good. All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump back then. It sounds like there's a lot of more questions that are going to come from this. So,
okay.
All right. Excellent.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. So some of the results in terms of a little bit of numbers here. So the first day we saw 14 whales with 4 mother calf pairs and 6 individual ones. The second day were 17 with 2 mother calf pairs and 13 individuals. These two first days were a little bit on the wind, and the swell was a little rough, so we couldn't really enjoy our time there. It was still interesting. And then we moved to the other location, and we saw about 70 whales on the third day with 2 mother calf pairs and 65 individuals. And the last day it was around 56 with 4 mother calf pairs and 48 individuals. So it was really exciting. At one point you couldn't, like, you got lost, like, oh, where do I look? Because we were like, they were everywhere. And so here, yeah, so I think it was the first day, probably the second or third whale that we encountered. And they started taking pictures, and Lee and Clara were at the bow, almost at the bow of the boat. And then Lee was like, oh, okay, so I think that is, and she like almost say anything. And then she, like, the whale went up again, and she was like, that is Pac-Man. And they were so happy. They were so excited. And I am so sad that there is not anyone, like nobody took a video of them just getting so excited, and they were just losing it because they saw Pac-Man there. So yeah, so there are 2 matches of the PCFG population there. One is Pac-Man, and the other one is, oh my God, I wrote the name here, Propscar. That's the name of reciting. And one interesting point of view that Lee and Clara gave me is that, oh, Pac-Man is not friendly in Oregon, but here he was really friendly. So yeah, that was just very interesting. And it was really nice to see them very excited and just like very, very happy about them. Because it's funny, because when we were on the road there, Clara was like, I would like freak out if I see one of our Oregon whales. And well, Pac-Man was there on day 1, so he was really excited. Okay, so as we have some drone effort results so far. These are like all the videos are currently being analyzed by the GEM lab with Lee. So there are some results that we don't have, but this is just like to give you an overview of the picture of what we have been seeing, what we have seen. And so we did 16 flights just from I think the GEM lab drone, because my cousin brought his drone, and I don't know if that information has been analyzed, because we had 2 drones. We have 6 hours of footage, and we flew over mother calf pairs, lone individuals, and something that was very, very popular there was social groups, a lot of mating and trying to mate. And we saw what you would usually see in when you go see the whales, like spy hopping and breaching and a lot of rubbing against the boat. And we could see using the drones, we saw a lot of mating and also supposed nursing, which was really, really nice. And this is just a map where you could see our effort here. It's these are the drones, like the flight tracks from, I think these are from the Gem Lab drone. We still need to download and get the track files for the area, which is all the way there that you cannot even see in this map. So yeah, I just trying to put it like effort. This is like our flight effort for the experiment and for the field trip. And then something that, so during these 4 days, all we talked about is why are they like this here? Because Pac-Man is not friendly in Oregon, and now here he's like, oh, come pet me. And it I'm going to use an example that Lee gave us. Is she thinks that the panga, it's like a bar, like a pub. So where whales would go there to just like be social, you know, it's like their meeting point. And we wanted to see if it is actually the boat, like that the physical object of the boat, or is it the people there? Because if you talk to the captains of the tour, the whale watching boats, they will tell you all kinds of things, and they are probably right because they have been doing that for 40 years. But they tell you, oh, they love kids, they love children screaming, they love singing and all sorts of things. So we were like, okay, let's do an experiment, and let's just put ourselves, everyone, all of us, in the center of the boat, like kind of like all together like this, cramped, and just stay quiet and let's see what happens. So we did this like twice, and I know it's not enough information to say, oh, it's the boat, not the people or whatever, but it was just fun to play with this because there's a 100 million things why they are like this and we don't know. So we just like, oh, we wanted to try one thing that we could do there. So we were in silence, not interacting with the whales for a while. And then we were like just scream and like being just tourists. And this is just like a fun video of what we did. Oh no. Oh.
We are doing experiments where we are not interacting with the whales. It is really hard. So we want to interacting with them. Normal behavior. Yeah.
Right, so that was our little experiment. So from like the few times that we did that, nothing changed. The wells were still there, but they were there also being social with each other. So it's something to think about. And okay, so now I'm just going to show you 3 quick videos of kind of what our flights would look like and what we saw, either like interacting with boats or mother calf pair, just like what most of our flight videos would look like. So let's start here. This is a mother and calf. And something that is really interesting is that when you're doing research with drones, you have to stay at the same altitude and with the camera looking down. So the glare is you have to fight a lot with the glare. And even though they are not very like in terms of like pretty videos because of all the glare, there's a methodology that you have to follow. All right, so that was one with them, and this is I think that is our boat. And yeah, this is with us, and you can see I think we were being just tourists here. We're all over the place, just every one of us doing their thing. All right, I think, and we have one more here. That might be nursing, we don't know. And some the next steps, we want to get respiration rates and just more of like more analysis on this footage. But yeah, we will do that in the next months. Hopefully, we want to continue this effort in the upcoming years, trying to go back every year, like build a solid baseline of information about their behavior. One thing that we notice is that mother and calf pairs are doing pretty much their own thing, while social groups and just like individuals are being more social in terms of approaching pangas. And I don't know if this is only here or other lagoons, but we didn't have any interaction with calves, only with individuals. So that's something that was highlighted in our trip. And yeah, so for I would like to thank the GEM Lab, because it would have not been possible without their knowledge and effort and everything they taught us. This wonderful group of people that went to the field trip, It was volunteers, students from UCSD, my own cousin, and just volunteers from the Baja California University, and Lee and Clara. And also, thank you very much for our funding agency, the American Cetacean Society, LA chapter, American Cetacean Society as a whole, the Animal Behavior Society, and UC San Diego, who provided with a few grants. And yeah, so our next steps is apply for more funding. One, I guess, challenge that we are facing is that even though we really try to collaborate with the MPA in terms of reducing the cost of us going out using their boat and like getting them on board with our monitoring, that was not possible. And also with the whale watching tours, it was not possible for us to like be treated like as researchers. We would hire them as just whale watching company, so we would have to go out at the same time almost that everyone else. So although there were 2 days that we left very early to avoid, so we wanted to film the whales where nobody was there, like not whale watching boats, just us. We could do that, so that was good. And then we would get that, so we would go out like around 7, and around 8 or 8:30 more whale boats would come, so we wanted to film before and after, and that worked. But we want to trying to see if the whale watching boats will give us like a research rate, or trying to collaborate with us, so we are not treated as just tourists going out. And we will try to get more funding to do this annually. We want to keep doing this. Lee is very optimistic about continuing our work because, yeah, it's very interesting. We wanna see what happens there. And yeah, so thank you very much for inviting me, for hearing this, and for being interested in what I had to say today. So thank you very much. And yeah, so I'm open for questions.
Great footage. That's for sure. And it must have been really exciting. I think it's great to have been able to take Lee Torres for the first time. It's really exciting that she, that they got so that they saw Pac-Man. So one of my first questions is that, you had said they expressed that Pac-Man's not friendly at their research site, but are there other whales that are like attempting to be friendly and interactive, or
no,
just
in
saying,
Oregon?
okay.
I don't think so. No. Yeah.
I mean, we see that along the migration a little bit, right? I mean, that's where some whales do come up and try to interact with boats here and there. So I didn't know if that was maybe going on up there. It's an interesting phenomenon because, I remember when they were delisting them, and then the macaw were talking about being able to hunt them again, and the concern that we're training them to go up to small boats down in the lagoons, that idea, and that maybe that would engage them with the smaller boats of the macaw that they were using to hunt the gray whales. And but it is, it's intriguing if they're really not necessarily approaching small boats all the way up the coast, but it'll be interesting to further look at that.
Yeah.
Did you get anything anecdotal, any ideas that they were interacting or behaving any differently near a boat versus not near a boat?
As I said before, I think Lee's idea is pretty good. It's like they use the boat as a meeting point, and they just interact with each other and just being very social around the boat. And you would also see that without the boats, but in a slightly different way. That I don't have like, yeah, I would have to like just have 2 videos of what I just keep analyzing the videos. So yeah, I think they are different but they are I think the big picture here is that they are being super social in the lagoons, and that behavior is just, they use the boats as they're hanging out. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we're also coming off of this unusual mortality event, and
Right.
we are seeing the gray whale numbers. They had really dropped and declined quite a bit. Calf numbers had also declined quite a bit.
Yeah.
This year in the lagoons, we did see a few more calf numbers up in San Ignacio, and we had a little bit more calf interaction than we did last year. So I'm not surprised when you were, talking about not having many cow-calf interactions. It just was a little bit lower. A lot of the interactions that we had this year down in San Ignacio were with adults, or maybe juvenile but larger whales, and not cow-calves necessarily. So hopefully it'll be interesting to see if you are able to continue this project, how that changes.
Yeah, and talking about calves, one thing that we learned there is that the people there told us that they usually see more calf in certain areas. So I think that the physical properties of the whole lagoon influences where they have more, like there are more calves aggregating. And also with 4 days, we can't really say much more about calf. So that's why we're gonna, if we go there, we're gonna stay longer and just try to go to places where boats would not usually go, like we're watching boats, trying to go places where pretty much only we could go, just to see if we can see either more calves or different behaviors.
Are the interactions, or are the whales congregating in areas that are close enough for you to do any of the drone surveys from land?
Yeah, we evaluated that option. There is a place where we can do that. However, it is a little far. But if it's a really flat day, you could be able to do it. So we are kind of, we want to try that next year.
Yeah, those winds pick up pretty quickly, though. You gotta be careful. We do have some great questions coming in.
Okay.
Gabrielle is asking if you see eDNA becoming a part of the study in the future.
I'm sorry?
Gabrielle is wondering if you see eDNA becoming a part of the study.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, I haven't thought about it. I think it's a very upcoming field of study that is of interest of me, because I'm doing genetics now. I think it would be amazing to get the right questions, the right problem to solve in terms of eDNA. And I will be up for doing eDNA in the future.
John asked a question about Mexico's drone pilot licensing process and requirements, but also can you just expand a little bit further on that? Because I think I read that like all of Baja, or at least in the Vizcaino biosphere, drones are not allowed. I know they're not allowed with private use, right? Can you explain?
Yeah, so they are not allowed, especially because of all this like drone photo. It's mainstream right now. So if you're a tourist, you're not allowed to bring them, and you have to apply for a permit. So we did apply for permits. So we had the permit to just go there. So if you're a photographer, or if you want to do like you have to apply for a permit, but it is kind of easy to get. It's not that you only can have it if you're doing research. No, you can do it as a photographer, as a videographer, whatever, but you do need a permit to fly them there.
Very good, very good. You had shared, and I loved your video of you guys all being quiet, sitting on the boat, right? And I don't know if you saw my comment, but that would have been the hardest thing ever.
Oh yeah, it was hard. It was hard. Yeah.
So being with the Cabrillo Marine Aquarium, we've been running trips into San Ignacio now for about 50 years, and I've been for about 25 years, and it's really interesting to see what dynamics, what attracts whales, what doesn't, and if there is anything that really attracts whales. I mean, we know that, and you and I were talking about it, how regulated it is in both Ojo de Liebre and San Ignacio, and that they don't approach the whale and to engage with it. It's just positioning the boats. But I've had passengers, of course, many passengers ask, and I've had them sing songs, and I've had them sing different types of music, all testing. And so one day they asked one of the naturalists, our friend Jim Pekarsky, who worked at one of the camps there and had been, of course, working there for months on end for many, many years. And so he replied saying, well, of course I know what attracts the whales as a guide here. And he, held up a big bag of candy, and he said, you just shake the candy at them. And of course, that's what attracts the whales. But then, expanded on that, basically saying it's really just, maybe it's the energy and enthusiasm of the boat, maybe it's not, but that, it is a small percentage of the whales that actually engage and interact in any way. At the time, he had said 10 to 15% of whales actually approach boats or engage boats. So it'll be really interesting as you continue this further to see if there's any, number or percentage, or how you flush that out a little bit.
Yeah. And at some point I don't want to be this Grinch, like, oh no, not getting excited, oh, don't sing to them because that's not what that attracts them. That's like, I just want to know from a scientific point of view, like what is doing that. But for example, I have a baby now, and in 2-3 years that I'm going to be able to take him, if he wants to sing to the whales, and if that makes him think that that's what is attracting the whales, I'm going to say, yeah, sing to them, you're attracting them. So it's, from a human point of view, it's really nice that they think that they are the ones that getting, like, why they are approaching. Yep. But from a scientific point of view, we really don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. It'll be very interesting to see if you can determine anything, or how you can flesh out that a little bit more.
Yeah.
So Tamara asks a couple of questions here. We'll start with her first one. Current photo ID uses images of individuals' dorsal and or flukes or other body parts. For example, the Pac-Man markings. So what about from above? Are you doing any ID with using the drones, and will the images become their own catalog? And is this going to be something that maybe citizen scientists can see or have access to?
Yeah, so we did talk about it. We are, of all the individual drone footage that we have, we will be taking just static, like just pictures, and trying to start building a catalog. To be honest, I don't know which, if it has been done, probably maybe in this San Ignacio or with the University of Baja California, but it would be really interesting to start a catalog from drone pictures. Yeah. So yeah, it is in the talks. Yeah.
Sherry is all referring to her. Let's see, she just says she does a humble gray whale photo ID project in Mendocino and part of Sonoma County. She sees lots of lacerations consistent with boat propellers. Since the boats in the lagoons and other whale watching ventures are benign, do you think there is a correlation between propeller lacerations, small boat injuries to gray whales outside of the lagoons?
Let me see if I got the question right. Do you say that there's the scars are coming from outside the lagoons, or?
I believe she's asking that, and Sherry, if you want to chime in, but is that what you're asking? You're asking if these small boat laceration injuries are coming from other boats outside of the lagoons. You can reply in chat, or if you want to confirm. This is Sherry. Are you typing? Let's see if she pipes in a little bit more. So let's pause on that one, and we'll come back to that, because that'd be good to fine tune what she's referring to there. Era also added here, we get some whales that come to some of the boats, but a lot of them don't. Curious if the rule of not touching them up here has anything to do with it.
You know what? Maybe. It's funny because you're not officially allowed to touch them either in the lagoons. And it's really funny because they tell you it is forbidden, but it's one thing, you cannot touch them, but they can touch you.
So if you
So-
hang out just like this.
Yeah. Also, what I was talking to Lee about this is that the boats in the lagoons are kind of smaller and more close to the water. And I've seen a lot of whale watching boats in the near San Diego and Monterey Bay and all that. I think they use larger boats, so maybe that is harder to approach them. But yeah, so yeah, I haven't been whale watching for gray whales in the North Pacific, like Oregon or Northern California, so I don't really know how they behave. But yeah, maybe that's, yeah, it could be a possibility.
We do see, and in recent years, it seems more and more that just could be because social media, right? People are sharing it, but we are seeing a lot of interactions and close approaches, even
Yeah.
with some of the bigger boats where we've had whales coming up
Oh,
and rolling
oh,
around, but
interesting.
more with some of the smaller boats. And again, I don't know if that's just social, what gets shared. So there's a bias to some of that as well sometimes, but that's an interesting and intriguing question. It's something that it seems like this continued work would flesh out a little bit, is if there's no interaction, like, I mean, just like your video did, if we're not touching the whales, are they going to go away, versus if we interact with them, will they stay? So yeah, it's interesting. We're still waiting. Yeah, go ahead.
One of the other experiments that we thought about is just like hiring a fisherman and just drive the boat just stay there without people, just a random boat, and see from land if the whales would approach that boat per se the entire day.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting. That would be very interesting. Tamara has another good question here. In March, when you did this was all just from this March too, right?
Yeah.
Were you able to do the interaction experiment only 2 times? How many times do you need to get more conclusive data, and how many years do you expect it to take?
Okay, so in terms of like a number, I don't know, probably a minimum of 3 times per day, I would say, just to get consistent data. And I would like to keep doing this for as long as I can. So I'm going to keep applying for funding, because it looks like a very interesting, at least this year we want to apply for next year, at least 3 to 5 years would be great. We want to do more days because we think that only 4 is just, it doesn't give us that much information, because it all can happen between days, and the tides also take part and all that. Yeah.
True. Varenka is asking, as you are testing possible reasons, do you plan to play different types of sounds from the boat and study those reactions as well?
Yeah. So it's funny, I met a person in Loreto that actually did this kind of experiment. From a more artistic point of view, he's an artist, so he would read poems and just like bring types of instruments to the boat. But it would be really interesting to actually use acoustics to see, there's the ocean air barrier, and to see how much noise actually they get from the outside, and to see if they actually hear some sounds from us, the motor, or our yelling, or our foot just like stepping on the boat. So that's why we wanted to leave like a boat just there stranded, to see if it was the panga, or maybe our foot just stepping on the boat. So yeah.
All kinds of, there's a lot of opportunity there. Mindy says, do you see, go ahead.
No, that just, if you have ideas of little experiments, just, you can tell me.
I think Tony Frohoff did played some sounds for dolphin, pods of dolphins. might be interesting to follow that if
Yeah.
following that line of thinking. But yeah. So Mindy asks, do you see any orca whales or sharks with the whales?
No.
And if so, do they modify the interaction with the people?
No, I think it's also a $1 million question. That one is that how come when they have all the calves they could get, why orcas don't enter the lagoons? It's nobody knows. Yeah. So no, we don't see that. There's sharks around, but I don't think they, at least not from our point of view, like seeing them, we don't see any shark marks. Definitely we see whale like orca, but from probably their migrating route, not inside the lagoons.
Wow. Kind of scary, right? Killer whales in San Ignacio this last year. Was it this last year?
Yeah, but I think it wasn't on during whale season, was it?
It was like early, kind of just
Okay.
before the onset of it, and they
Yeah.
did get a bottlenose. They took a bottlenose dolphin, I believe. When they were there.
Wow. Yeah.
So hopefully they weren't looking for something bigger.
I know.
So Veronica, and I can attest to this because she was on our Cabrillo Marine Aquarium trip. She was the person in charge of splashing the water.
Okay.
So is that something you might look at as comparing the difference to
Yeah.
attracting them or not?
Yeah, I was splashing. Yeah, I would do everything. Yeah, it's interesting to see if that would be a behavior that would get them. But yes, that is on our notes.
That's one thing that the pongueros will tell you to do, right?
Yeah.
They'll say splash, and they notice that they were telling us that the whales will come up where the engine cooling water is and just stick their head out, and they've done that. Our boat anchors in the lagoon, and they will come right up. We're on a large vessel, and they'll come right up and hang out again in those engine cooling waters. And in this last year we had one that stayed a cow-calf pair for about 24 hours hanging out with us. So they definitely seem to like that.
The motor in the actually the motor and the water coming out of the motor was one of the things that, hey, the motor has something to do with this.
Yeah. So I think Sherry came back and posted again. She was commenting again about the number of propeller lacerations. I know we see some in the lagoons as well. Some so she did mention here some fresh and some from outside the lagoons. Do you think they're less afraid of boats because of tourism, whether idling boats and non-active propellers? It's hard to say.
You know what? I don't know. They definitely don't look afraid, but I don't know if maybe afraid would be, I honestly, don't know this part, but they do not look very, what I mean is, I think the propeller lacerations barely occur in the lagoons. So could be.
And they don't look very timid around boats, right? Especially like you're saying that they seem to come up where the engine is and around the engine cooling waters and stuff. So it's interesting. Interesting. Wow. Well, a lot of great questions. I think you have a lot of great questions, and we look forward to you being able to dive in and get answers to, or poking around and seeing what you can find out about these intriguing interactions. This has been fascinating people for decades, ever since Pachico reached out for that very first time, right? That we've heard so much about. And I don't know what's the history of the interactions in Ojo de Liebre? We've heard about, where it originated or how it originated in San Ignacio, but do you know more about like the first encounter or when it might have started in?
I don't know about the first encounter, but it all began with the salt factory that it's there. So, and also something that I learned this March is Ojo de Liebre is like the eye of how you say a liebre?
Rabbit.
Like a big rabbit.
Yeah.
And it's not because it looks like a rabbit, the lagoon. It's because during whaling season, the the water will turn red. So it would look like the eye of a dead rabbit, which is awful. But it is why it's called Ojo de Liebre, which is because of the whaling that happened there many years ago.
That hurt my heart a little. I didn't realize that. Oh,
Yeah.
that's fascinating. Yeah, makes sense though. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Those were the primary hunting grounds. So yeah. Oh, let's see. Veronica added here. Let's see. Oh, you could do an experiment with small sailing boat to see if they approach them less than those with an engine.
You know what? I don't think we're allowed to put a sailing boat there. It's very restricted. I had to ask for. I wanted to ask so many favors, and no. But yeah, it would be very interesting to, or just have like a Zodiac, and just like I don't know, even a kayak. I don't know.
Or maybe even just right outside the lagoon, because I don't know. I know they're kind of transiting in and out of the lagoon a lot. Maybe you could get away with some of that right outside the lagoon.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, but we appreciate that they're so protected and that they're so strict, right? I mean, in the end,
You know what? I'd rather have these restrictions, but okay, everyone can just go. So.
Yeah. It's but we would hope that with research permits you'd be able to pull some extra strings, but there is a reason.
Not this year, maybe
exactly,
later. Yeah,
exactly. Well, thank you so much, Fernanda. Thank you for you taking time away from your young daughter and your newborn. Congratulations on becoming a mom, and thank you so much once again. Congratulations on your research grant, and we look forward to hearing so much more from you in the future. Thank you all for attending. Thank you for coming to our deeper dive, and thank you for ACSLA and the Cabrillo Marine Aquarium. Thank you very much to Kathy for all the behind the scenes help today. She's been doing all of our poking around, all the behind the scenes on the Zoom stuff. So thank you very much. Thanks to Luisa and Fernanda.
No, thank you very much for inviting me, everyone for listening, and ACLA for the grant. It was great.
All right, with that, everybody, we will see you next month. Same bat channel, same bat time, if you will. All right, good night, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Good night. Bye-bye. Good night.